discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Top 10. Once again, if you are enjoying this series, let me know what other, Top 10s you'd like to see in the comments below. And today, now, this is actually a topic that I have not seen a list of done. It's probably out there, but I don't see a lot of people actually do a top 10 list or compare one or the other. They just kind of mention as they're doing the review of the game. I don't do reviews, so here's kind of my reviews over these games. And the list is top 10 art in board games. In board games. I was checking to see if there's card games. Well, board or card games, whatever, tabletop games. I am huge. Wow, yeah, that's not a thing. I am big into art. I have a lot of friends who are artists in some form or another. And I just would like to give credit where credit's due because I know how much time and effort and money and all goes into actually putting, the design and the art into the games that we play. So, without further ado, we are going to start with, not number 10, we're going to start with number 11 as a honorable mention. So number 11, and it's basically for one solid reason, and that is Chaos in the Old World by, I believe, Eric Lang. And that is because the board is so freaking cool looking. The board is basically designed and over human skin that's like stretched out, and that's where the map is. And I just think that it was really cool, really unique, and I felt it should be mentioned because you don't see a lot of, kind of like that gruesome darkness that game definitely is about, and the theme is definitely there with even the board. Like if I showed people the board, I'm like, yeah, this is actually over human skin. They're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So that was number 11. Okay, now going on to the actual top 10. And man, this one was actually difficult because this art kind of, for me depends on the mood I'm in, so this probably could have been moved around, but for the most part, it's pretty solid. So number 10 is actually a game that was mentioned in another top 10 I did, and that is Elysium. Now, Elysium I felt to have one because the theme is really cool, but let me grab it real quick. Because it's a game about, Greek gods, and you are, Greek gods. And I just felt like it was an incredibly thematic, just well done art, even based around the gods, like the house that you got. So, it was incredibly pretty. Here we go. So if I was to, I don't even know if you guys can see that. Well, I don't feel like moving. But the art was just so well done for each of the different houses, and just incredibly colorful, and just I just think they were really, really well done drawings for each of the houses, and there's like 8 of them or 10 of them that they had to do individual designs for, and I just think that they're incredibly well done. So that is number 10. Number 9 is a game that I recently did a run-through for, and that is Star Wars Rebellion. Now, the thing about Star Wars Rebellion, which is actually why it's not higher on my list, is because I found out that some of the art that they use in Star Wars Rebellion is actually being used in the living card game. So I was a little bit disappointed that they, kind of reused art in a completely different game. So I was a little bit disappointed by that, but then I have to think, well, it's probably expensive to actually put the art in these games. But it just depicts the Star Wars universe so well. And whenever I am kind of picking cards, that's the first thing you notice is the art. You're like, oh, that one looks cool, I wonder what it does. And I'm sure that's the way it is in the living card game. I don't play LCGs. But some of them are just really cool. They definitely did a great job, drawing, the characters. That definitely looks like Luke. It doesn't look like some, deformed version of Luke that's some half-ass attempt to kind of make it look like him. No, it definitely looked like him, and you definitely feel the tension or what the artist was trying to depict in that picture. and it's incredibly colorful. There's no lack to detail, and I just like even the planets in that game look really cool. Some of them look like looks like Dagobah, that looks like Hoth, that looks like Tatooine, and it's just, even though it's just a picture of the planet, I think they did a really great job, and that's why it's $100. But doing the art for that game, so that is why it was my number 9, and my number 8 is my favorite game of all time, Talisman. Now, even though it's my favorite game, there's no way I was going to be biased and be like, no, that has the best art in any type of board game, because, I mean, it doesn't, but it's good. Because it does. That's why it's number 8, guys. And with Talisman, the what you would think to be that card, whether it's an orc, whether it's whatever, an apocalypse, a volcano, a pixie, or whatever, they did a great job capturing that fantasy feel to it, and how you would imagine your character to look, or that scenario to look, that place to look, and especially in the newest expansion, the Cataclysm, the new board is so well done. It's kind of like, I don't really know like the art style, but it's not like crystal clear. Like if they're drawing a tavern, it doesn't look like a detailed tavern. It's kind of like that foggy, smeared kind of thing, which I personally like. And the board looks like there was an apocalypse. Every space looks like something happened there, and especially in that new one where there's like, you can tell what area is like real dark and a place you don't want to go to, but then like where the chapel is, there's like light, and that light shines out over some of the other places, and I just think that it's like, oh, well, what's over there? Oh, that's where I can go to heal if I'm a good character. They just did a really great job capturing that fantasy feel into every single expansion of the Talisman. If you want to go to the city, it looks like the bustling streets of a city. You want to go to the dungeon, it looks like a dungeon. You're like you're going deeper down into the dungeon. You want to go to the Highlands, it's all mountain and rocky and brown, and you're like, oh, I can find gems there. I can go, and like, oh, as I get closer to climbing the Highlands, climbing the mountain, it gets more icy. And then there's the woodlands where it's like, oh, that is this clear, dense forest. And there's, a stream, a magical stream, and just, it does such a good job. And then each, tier just does exactly what it's supposed to. With the base game, it's like all lava and evil, and then you're going in there to climb to find the Crown of Command. And then with the new one, it got frozen over, so now it's just this icy wasteland, and everything changed to accommodate that. You would think it's my favorite, but it's because it's my favorite game that I noticed that. But I believe that is number 8. Number 7, whereas it doesn't have a board, it just has a shit ton of races, and that is Cosmic Encounter. And Cosmic Encounter definitely has to be mentioned on this list because of every single race. I think there's like 150 something, and each of them, just even if their names aren't cool, like, oh, this one's Anger, it looks like it's Anger. Like they fit the name of what they're supposed to be, and they're detailed, and some of them are like, oh my god, like what does that do? Because whenever you flip over your races or you pick your races, I do everything random, so when everyone gets the races, that's the first thing you notice, because it's a big picture of the race, so you're noticing that, and you're like, crap, what does that do? And some of them is like really ferocious, one is disgusting, some of them look intelligent, some look cute. Like the loser race looks incredible. You're like, oh, I don't wanna fight that guy. And he wins, because that's pretty much kind of what happened, because the loser always wins. Unless of course he wins. I think that's what it is. But anyway, it's and you just imagine these different types of races fighting each other, and it's like, really, that's the loser. They're like cute, like meerkat / kittens, and it's like, well, crap, I don't want to fight those guys, so they win because everyone kind of surrenders because they're so cute. And the amazing thing is, since there's so many races and all of them have so many unique abilities, to make a unique design for each and every one of them is just astounding. And props to the designer for that game, because we got another race, damn it. Unless he's like, yeah, another race, I've been bored, I wanted to make 200. I don't know, but I definitely think that is a very well done, very well done art in that game. Now, number 6 is, number 6 is Mysterium, and I guess you can tie in Dixit as well. I personally haven't played Dixit, but I've seen it played, and it's kind of like they're comparable. It's that kind of Dishonored feel, once again kind of faded, but each card has to be abstract, or they don't have to be, but some of them are abstract. So to make abstract art look good and not just be like, what the hell is that shit? But like to make it be like, oh, what's going on in here? And because the game calls for that, I just think it's amazingly well done. Some of them are incredibly colorful. Some they definitely were made to convey emotion, because you can play off of that, or you can play off the color. You can be like, well, this one, I really want them to notice the color, so I'm playing this one that has a lot of pink, but it's not just a pink card. It's like this child's room, and there's a lot of toys in there, and the toys are all detailed, but there's a lot of pink overlay. It's not just one pink, it's like multiple different kinds of pink to, make the card look good. And Dixit does the same thing. And I think actually it's just a bunch of different kinds of art styles mixed into one game that I believe merits to be on this list, especially at number 6, because of how you have to use the card. You need to be able to pull different emotions, different thoughts from one particular card, because I can play one card and different people can interpret that in multiple different ways. And if I were to play something from like Talisman, like a picture that's from Talisman Orc, you really only get like one or two things from that picture. But this one, they're so abstract and so out of the box that, like, I think that's what art should do, is convey different types of emotions to different people. So Mysterium at number 6. And going on to number 5, and these kind of changed around. Once again, I said depending on my mood. And so I have to remember how. So number 5 is Evolution. Now, if the one thing about Evolution that makes it, incredibly cool is it's kind of a card game. It is a card game. There's really no board. So whenever you're building your species and building your race, and I've played the Climate expansion. It's not even out yet, but I've play tested it. I've played Flat and I've played the base. And all of those cards are incredibly, colorful and well done. And once again, it's kind of like that, it's kind of like if you have really bad vision and like not everything is like crystal clear. That's kind of what some of them look like. Not all of them, but they're not your typical, art colors. Some of the cards are like of a rainbow buffalo. The cover of like Climate is kind of looking like a rainbow buffalo or something. There's like a bunch of like different colors all around it, and that's just some of the cards. The rest of them are pictures of animals depicting what the card is doing. Oh, okay, well there's a picture of a brontosaurus or whatever it's called, eating leaves from the top of a tree, and that trait's called long neck, because that's what a brontosaurus has, is a long neck. And so you can look at these cards and kind of figure out what they do without ever really actually having to read the card. And it's like, okay, well this one has symbiosis, which means that it benefits from other plants, or not other plants, other species, and there's also foraging, and all of the art, like I said, incredibly colorful, and just I don't know what it is, like I really like it. Like I don't want to pull it out, but like I just really like how it's done. And sometimes I'll just sit there and I'll look at the art on it and be like, wow, this one's Warning Call, or this one's Climbing. Oh, that gecko is like really like that abstract like blue. It's like a different shade of blue, but it's like also purple and pink at the same time, and it's just not like a standard, whatever dinosaur. It's not a standard bird. It's not like a standard gecko. They made it as colorful and as bright and happy and fun as possible, and that's why I really like it. So that was number 5, Evolution. Number 4, and it's really funny that I mentioned this game because I actually absolutely hate this game, and that is Magic the Gathering. Understand why I said card game earlier. And Magic the Gathering, in a nutshell, has so many cards. So many different themes. Like, there's like, oh, I don't know. Like, they come out with one every, like, freaking day, it seems like, but different. There's, like, Greeks, there's, zombies, freaking whatever you can think of, Magic probably has it. And they have to come up with art for each and every one of those cards. And to produce that many and also have really cool thematic art on each card is, I could not have mentioned it, or I could not have mentioned it. I think that's, yep, I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's just, they look so cool. Like, if you ever played Magic, if you're building a zombie deck, your pictures look like zombies. Some of them are gruesome, some of them just look really, really well done. And even the mana, like the mana art, like the cards that are, common and they're just there. Some of them have different pictures for, the different types of land you're pulling the mana from. And it's just really well done. Like, I don't have a whole lot to say about it, honestly, because, like, if you haven't seen, like, Magic art, then, I mean, you're kind of missing out, because I believe that they do a spectacular job doing it for each card that they put out. And the only time they ever reuse art is, I think, for if they're making multiple of the same card. Like, they're not going to pull two different cards but use the same art for both. They have different and unique art for each card, and that's just amazing. So that was number 4. And then comes to my number 3. Number 3 is... I will actually pull this one out. WizWar. Can you see? Yeah, WizWar. WizWar is such a... I mean, I mentioned Magic, so kind of like the same thing, but not really. It is such a fun, whimsical game that I believe that the art depicts that very well. Like, there's a sense of seriousness to WizWar, because you are fighting and dueling mages, but it's also incredibly cartoony. Like none of the pictures are like gruesome like in Magic, where it's like a zombie eating someone's flesh and pulling the flesh. This one, you probably won't see that. You just have colorful, spells, like you're casting a spell and it looks like the spell you're casting. Or one of the cards is called like Wall of War or something, and you eat a piece of wall to break through, and the picture is a guy eating, like the wall. And God, it's just so lighthearted and very, I mean, it's still detailed in that cartoony sense, to where you're just looking at these pictures and you're like, wow, whoa, what's this one do? And then like for hexes, it's like the hexes, even on the tokens, all the tokens have detailed art, or your items you get. And sometimes the cards that you play against people show like another wizard being damaged by the spell, and you just kind of get that interaction, you get that visual of what you're actually doing. And I mean, yeah, you'll pretty much use your imagination, but it's like, if I'm playing a card that shoots you with lightning, it's showing a wizard getting zapped by lightning. And it's like that stereotypical like black outline, but you see a skeleton, stuff like that. And it's so lighthearted and fun, and the game is a blast, that like you don't feel like you're being a dick. Like in Magic, like someone's always standing there, kind of like, the person that everyone knows in Monopoly. That's what Magic does. But in a card game, in WizWar, it's like, I'm doing this card to you. Yeah, it like steals your item, but like it's like whatever, extra arms, so your guy has extra arms to carry stuff, but you play a card that allows your arm to stretch, and it's like steel, whatever. And it's just his arm turned into elastic, and he grabbed the item, and that's just what that game does. That it had to be, yeah, it had to be number 3. Like, there was no way around it. So that brings me to my number 2. This game was also mentioned on the top games of 2015, and that is Time Stories. Now, Time Stories has to have great art. Like, otherwise it wouldn't. I actually don't think it'd be that great of a game, because you're exploring a deck. So there's no board to guide you anywhere to help you with visuals. The deck has to look pleasing, and because there is a Asylum, Zombie, and the Prophecy of Dragons, the fantasy one, they have to kind of pull you using strictly art and storytelling into that world, and each and every one of those did exactly that. In the Asylum, the way the art was drawn made it kind of like grim and depressing, not a whole lot of bright colors, and so whenever you're just looking at the location, you feel like you're in an asylum. You're like, oh my god, I don't want to go talk to that person because they clearly look crazy, or what's that person doing over there? They have to be thematic, like, because you're looking at each card and you go to these cards to figure out what happens. And so whenever you go there, you're like, okay, so this person is chained up. Why is he chained up? And then you flip it, and there's more art on the back to tell you what happened, what you're seeing, and to put you deeper and deeper into the story. There have been multiple times where, because you're not really supposed to tell each other what happened, where I've gone to a place and I cover, and I'm like, you guys have to see this picture. Like, what is that? Like, where are we going? What have we gotten into? Who is this person? And like, there's the clues in the art as well as your items, that just pulls you into that story. And it had to be number 2 because of how much it relies not solely on the storytelling, because they can tell a story. You don't have to have cards for that. Like Sherlock Holmes tells a story, but this one has the art to back it up, and very well done art as well. In the zombie one, in Marcy case, the zombies look incredibly gruesome, and it was frantic and terrifying. When you're looking at just the art, you're like, look how many there are, or what is that, or okay, well, we're safe here, but oh good, that guy killed himself. Wow, what happened here? Because whenever like I said, when you first see that location, you're looking at each and every card, just the picture. There's no text on it, except for maybe like the name of where you're going. No, I think it's just A through whatever. You're like looking at it as if you, especially if it's the first time you see it, you're like as if you're actually there. Because it's like if you walk into a room where people have killed themselves, your reaction is, oh my god, like what happened here? And then you go and then you get even more detail based on where you go. Very unique game, very unique art. In the Prophecy case, or the Prophecy of Dragons, there was a lot of magic, and like there was like a market, and you felt like you were in the market because there was a lot of vendors there, and it's just like now you're looking at all these items, you feel like you're truly shopping. It's just, I can't like reiterate myself enough to explain how well they did this game, especially with the storytelling and the art. Like once again, this is a game about art, and it's just it has to have it, and because if their art was garbage, I don't think the game would be that good. That's my opinion, but like, especially a game centered around locations where you're first being thrown in, you're like, oh, what's going on here? It has to have it, and it's so great. But not my number 1, and honestly, it easily could have been, but my number 1 is a game I did a run through for, Epic Spell Wars. Hands down, that is probably actually the reason why I did this list. Was as soon as I wrote down the title, I knew it was going to be number 1. And pick whichever one. Rumble at Mount Skullsfire. No. Something about Duel at Mount Skullsfire, Rumble at Castle Tentakill. The art in this game is just so funny and gruesome and weird, and the names are weird for the spells, so you're like, when you pick your 1, 2, or 3 combo cards, you're looking at, and they all, especially if you do cards of the same element type, when you place the cards next to each other, they form into one spell. And you're just like, what? And it makes sense, because it's like, well, I'm casting an elemental spell, so of course it's going to look like that. But if I'm casting a spell which has different like elements in it, or different types of magic in it, of course it's going to look wonky, and you're looking at it and you're like, who are these? Like, how am I casting this? Why does he have a baby head now? Because it's showing the very last card, especially if it's the deliver spell. It's showing like what you're doing to that guy, or to whoever you're casting it to, and it's just so colorful and gruesome and gross and funny that there is no way it would not have been number one. And I'm pretty sure that was like besides like the weird names, because I don't really like calling the spell out in the person's voice. It's funny for a little bit, but I never get tired of this art. I think it's top notch. Now, of course, would I say that the art is like better than the rest of these? I think it's once again, actually all of these are personal taste. I think it is because I just think it's just so funny. If you've ever seen the show like Ugly Americans, that's kind of what that art is. Like, look it up, or just watch my run through. Well, you don't really get to see the cards that much, but just look up the art, and it is just so funny and exactly what you would expect from that kind of game. That even the characters are like weird looking. Their names are, there's like a genie that is just like this roided out genie, and he just looks so funny and humorous. And when you're looking at, because you're supposed to yell the spell out in the voice of your character, and when you're looking at them, you're like, oh my god, like, I have the perfect voice for this guy. Or some of them you're like, I have no idea what this person would sound like. So it builds that, thematicness of playing the game, of like, you're all dueling wizards, casting these weird ass spells as like Crastar, or the genie that's like Gadoosh, and you're just doing stuff like that. And then you're looking at the spell and it's like, what did I just conjure up? Because this is so weird. And if anyone casted this, I would expect exactly what they do to do what they do. And it had to be number one. Like, now, of course, like in any other mood I'm in, I could say that like Time Stories is better, but at the end of the day, I pick Epic Spell Wars. So that is my top 10 list of my favorite art in board games, card games, whatever. Let me know in the comments what your top 10 are, or whatever game that you like kind of expected on this list, but it wasn't for some odd reason. Just let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you have any more suggestions for top 10 lists that you would like to see me do, then, let me know in the comments below. And as always, have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you want to help out the channel, I have my Patreon link right there. If you want to make some suggestions on board games you'd like to see us run through, I have my Board Game Geek list right there. And if you want to just, like the Facebook page, I have my Facebook link right there. And have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.